Today I'm going to walk you through step by step how to change your last name after you get married. It's not necessarily hard, but it is pretty time consuming and tedious. We're going to start at square one, before you got married. That final month when you were engaged, you went to the clerk's office and you got a marriage license application. That's what you and your officiant and your witnesses signed, and then it got turned back into the court and it got processed. And then that application became a marriage license, a marriage certificate. That's the paperwork that proves to the government that you are legally married, and it is stored in a database somewhere. If you're choosing to change your last name, you are going to need to have a paper copy of that certificate. That's something that you're going to need to purchase and will typically be mailed to you. In most states, you're going to have the opportunity to pre-purchase copies of those certificates when you apply for your license. That way, as soon as it's done and processed, they can get that in the mail to you a little bit sooner, but it still takes somewhere between a couple weeks to a couple months to get that physically hard copy in your hands. Once you have a hard copy of your marriage certificate, then you can move on to step one, which is changing your name on the federal level, which would require changing your name on your social security card. I think a few years back, they were allowing couples to start this process online. I'm not sure if that's still the case. So you will have to look to see if your social security office requires an in-person meeting, if that meeting requires an appointment, or if you can just walk in, or if it can be done online. In order to change your last name on the social security card, you do need to provide a proof, a reason of why you want to change your last name. So that's why you need to bring along that marriage certificate. You will also need to bring along your current driver's license. That still has your maiden name. That is later in the process. You just need to prove that you are who you currently are and why you are intending to change your name. You are not getting a new social security number. You will keep the number you currently have. You're just changing the name. Getting an updated social security card with your new name, that step is free. That will be processed in their database, and then they will mail you a new social security card. It'll probably take between 7 to 10 days to get that in the mail. So in the meantime, they will give you a printout, like proof of receipt, an interim social security card to use for the next steps of the process. Once you have changed your name on the federal level, now we can move to changing our name on the state level, on your driver's license. They usually recommend that you wait about 24 hours, so wait overnight, just to give the government databases a chance to reset overnight. So tomorrow you can go over to the DMV and you can work on updating to a new driver's license. Usually this requires getting your photo taken, so it almost always needs to be done in person. Check with your local DMV if they require appointments, or just walk in and wait in line. Now, getting issued a new driver's license, that's kind of being considered like a driver's license renewal, so you will have to pay the cost for a new driver's license. That one is not free. You will need to bring along that new social security card. The interim one is fine. And then any other required documents that you would also need to bring to a regular driver's license appointment. So usually like your proof of address as well. Depending on your DMV, sometimes they will print that driver's license right then and there. Other times that will need to be mailed to you, and they'll give you a paper one to use in the meantime. But once you have a new social security card and a new driver's license, then you can work on getting a new passport. If the passport you currently have is less than a year old, you can have that passport updated for free. But if your passport is more than a year old, you got to buy a new passport. Whether you are just updating it or buying a brand new one, we all know how long it takes to get a new passport issued. So it is really important, if you're doing an international honeymoon, you need to make sure that your tickets, your boarding passes, and your passport have the exact same name on them. You can't have one in your maiden name and one in your married name. They need to match. It's usually best, it's usually safest to buy those honeymoon tickets in your maiden name and then worry about the name change when you get back home. American TSA might give you some flex if you're like, it's my honeymoon, but you never really know what other countries are going to do. And if there's a discrepancy in your paperwork, that's not really a game you want to play. So aside from that, another thing you can do once you have your new social security card and your new driver's license is update all of your banking information. You're going to need to check with your bank if this can be done online. Usually it requires being an in-person meeting, and you usually need to bring that proof of marriage certificate as well. And this would be when you're issued new checks. Maybe you get a new credit card, which means you're going to get a new credit card number. This is when you're going to update the information on your mortgage, maybe your car loan. This is also the opportunity if you're planning on having joint banking with your partner. This is also when you can start working on changing your name if you have any private credit cards, like through a store or a retailer. Next step, once your banking has been updated, now you can go talk to HR at your work. Make sure that the checks that they're cutting to you are issued in the correct name so that they can be cashed. Also updating any tax information or employee issued insurance. Getting married is considered a life-altering event, which means you qualify to make changes to your insurance. So if you want to add your partner onto your plan, or you want to hop onto your partner's plan, you don't have to wait for the new year to make those changes. Getting married qualifies you to do that now. It's also a good opportunity to make changes to your beneficiary information, your power of attorney, your power of medical decision making. Not that that's necessarily related to changing your name, but again, marriage is a life-altering event, so it's a good opportunity to make those updates. You can also work on changing your name to other insurances that you might have. If you have car insurance, home insurance, renter's insurance, you can update your last name on any student loans you may have, any utilities, water, gas, electricity, changing your name on any subscription services like Amazon, Netflix. If you have any professional licensure that needs to be renewed every year or every couple years, you're going to need to change your name in that database. A couple questions that I know I'm going to get asked. If you are hyphenating your last name and you will legally have two last names or one joint last name, process is exactly the same. Now, let's say you don't want to take your partner's last name. You and your partner both want to change your last name to something totally new entirely. You want to create your own new last name. Same process, except they get to do it along with you. If you were choosing to do that, where you and your partner are making up a brand new last name and it's not something that's already listed on the marriage certificate, I do believe that process begins with having a judge-issued court order proof of approval. But yeah, name changes, they're super duper fun. There are a couple companies out there that claim that they will change your last name for you. They are a little bit pricey depending on what you determine to be the price of convenience, but they don't really change your name 100% for you. They're basically just going to give you the paperwork for the Social Security and the driver's license, and then once you complete that paperwork, they will submit it on your behalf. I do believe that after that, you're still going to have to do the rest of the steps yourself. I'm not affiliated with any of those programs. If you see any of those companies show up in my comment section below, know that they're not sponsored in any capacity and I have no relationship with them.